Hey everyone, Jessica Liese here with the Amazing Race 36 episode 6 recap for RHAP, in which we had a mega leg in Cordoba, Argentina, and we have a lot to talk about, of course, and we have some wonderful guests with us this week. It's the most ambitious crossover event of all time, or at least of this week, as far as I know. But before we get to that, before we introduce our guests, of course, I gotta introduce the man that around here we call him the King of Meat. And he's not wearing an outfit this week, which is very disappointing. Mike Bloom.
Yeah, I'm assuming, Jess, you're referring to the guests as in all the people that are in this hotel lobby that I happen to be podcasting from. I am away right now, but I'm trying to be as flexible as possible. I had to switch locations, much like Derek and Shalisa, switching detours, and I'm wearing my yellow in the occasion that I'm feeling quite blue about two very fun personalities leaving us this week.
Yeah, I'm really going to miss them. I think I've been very vocal about the fact that they are one of the funniest teams that we had in a really long time. But of course, we need to get to our guests because we are talking with the other panel of Amazing Race experts that grace the RHAP network. And we're very, very excited because when we first started planning out the season, we were thinking, who would we want to get on the show to talk about Amazing Race if Rob's going to go do something more productive with his time? And of course, we thought we need to get the Purple Pants podcast dynamic duo, a team I would like to see on the Amazing Race.
Ooh.
We have season 29 champion Brooke.
Hi.
Very excited. And of course, the man himself, Mr. Purple Pants, Brice Izyah. Brice, how are you doing?
I am wonderful. Thanks so much for having us. It's a mega leg, and what better way to introduce an alliance on the RHAP network than this episode. So thank you guys so much for having us.
Yes, and it's so
very
fitting.
Exciting.
It's very fitting that I think we have two pairs working together, considering that that is the main theme of this episode, evidently.
Well, we might need a third pair to hop on because that is the main theme of this episode.
Where's Rod? I'm just calling Rod to help figure things out for me. Talk about mega legs.
Exactly.
It's a man that doesn't skip leg day. We are not skipping mega leg day here. So let's get right into it. I think we probably do want to just jump off here and talk about the theme of the season, that is the teams working together, because I think it's really starting to drive the narrative in a way I think we haven't seen since the Mine 5 days. And I haven't really taken the temperature of the listeners or the viewers yet about this, but I don't know, what do you think of this?
Brooke?
Go ahead, Brice.
Well,
is that roadblock where it's like, do you want to do it? No, I think you should do it. I think you want to do it.
I think it reminds me of Will and James's season. I think that they were very strategic in their helping and their alliance. And so normally I'm kind of with the audience where it's like, I don't love to see teams helping. However, this is a very different case scenario. And I am very particular about one person, not even a team, because the team I love, but one person I be having to argue with, but the other person I just love and adore.
He's in love with Angie. She can do no wrong.
And
he is the height of all things. I don't disagree.
She's mother.
She is mother of mother, and I love me some Angie, and doing this podcast with you guys is reason 7,642 why I love Angie. And yeah, I could say so much more, but I'll let you go, Brooke, because then it's like, I want to cuss out Danny, but I don't want to cuss out Danny. And I also just want to tell Angie, you birthed an amazing genius. And Angie and I, because I am in Angie's head, we both are really hard on Danny. And we're like, you're doing too much. Stop. You can help, but you don't need to do it all. But thank the Survivor gods that Danny likes Survivor and has brought this Survivor alliance to Amazing Race, because without Danny doing what he did, I don't know how my girl Angie would have done. And so I am very thankful and grateful. Reason 9 as to why I love Danny.
Wow, there's a shot up the list there.
Yeah, he's got quite the disparagement between the reasons he loves one and the other. So Danny and Angie, to start with, were not my top team I wanted to win the race. I think Danny is spectacular. I have several notes in my 16 pages this week that talk about
7
things that he did that were great and supportive and wonderful. Angie is cold as ice, and I kind of love it.
And we love it. And we love it.
That being said, the teams that were sort of screwed over a little bit by this alliance this week, I really like them. And I think what they did was cruel, but
was it?
I would have done it too. So it's fine.
Right.
It's not illegal. If it's not illegal, I actually think some of those other teams would have benefited from being a little bit more intrusive. I mean, we'll get to it when we get to it, but alliances are cool. We had an alliance with London and Logan, and it was, if you get to like a U-turn and the other team's not there, help each other out. It was like a one team, and then everybody helped me build a wheel, so I just made an alliance.
Yeah, I was about to say, that was the first thing, of course, I thought about was you during the ladle roadblock asking people to help you out. And it's a bit comparable to, obviously, like these two moments I think we're going to get in the alliance is we'll get to sort of the, not roadblock, but blocking out of the other two teams.
The meat block.
The meat block, exactly.
But that was not a meat block, it was a meat tour.
Well,
it was like a meat tour.
It was a meat block, more like a cock block than a meat block, considering how much they were just pushing everyone out. But more so for me, to your point, Brooke, about like this alliance advantaging some teams and disadvantaging other teams, Amber at this roadblock, like being so emotionally torn of like, I can't leave Angie behind. Everyone goes through it together. I'm going to walk through this with you. I think for me, I'm still trying to weigh it because we talked about this in the past couple of weeks with, James in particular about how like alliances can certainly help in a certain expectation. I'll follow you this place. Hey, let's work together to get this stuff accomplished. Sometimes it feels like it's veering a little too much when you say, no, I need to stop my race to help you do this thing, which we got this episode.
I'm gonna have to disagree. Sorry, and I don't mean to jump in because I told myself I'm gonna like whatever.
No.
But here is what I would say.
7 minutes in, he decided. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, because listen, one thing about it, two things for sure. I'm gonna stand for Angie. Okay. And similarly to Angie, I was in love with Chris and Mary, right? Like I loved, for me, seeing parents of a certain age, right? And I think what makes me love Angie so much is that like Angie has made it very clear, like, listen, I would be at home upstairs with the cats watching TV. This is what Danny want to do. And as his mother, I want to support him. So just that alone makes me emotional, right? It makes me think of my own mom. And it's like, I know my mom would do the exact same for me. So it's like, there's a level to that. However, let's be clear, Angie's age and physical ability is like a deficit to her in this race when we are going against Greek gods like Rod, or we've got what's their names, the Flight brothers, Juan and Shane. Like she can't compete. And so what I love about this is that I really feel like because Victor and what's her name, Victor and Kim, is it? No,
Vinny and Amber.
Vinny and Amber,
yeah,
right?
I speak Brice
because
I speak
Vinny and Amber on the Purple Pants podcast pit stop. Make sure you tune in. Last week I had a couple of choice words for them because I felt like at one part I agreed with Vinny, the other part I agreed with Amber. However, Amber has showed up this episode because Angie is like that mother figure, and she like that bond, and you can't quantify that into words. Where Angie might lack in physical ability, she has in this mother ability that she was able to get Amber to be like, I'm not doing this without you. And so I love it, and I'm here for it, and I'm ready to argue with anybody who says other because I'm an Angie stan. Sorry.
Well, the thing that is really tearing me apart about this alliance business is that it really works, and it's working in like maybe the most optimal way I've ever seen it work on this show, where everybody is bringing something different to the table.
Okay, so
I don't know that everybody's bringing something to the table. I actually don't know that everybody's bringing something to the table.
Who's freeloading? Tell me.
Rod and Letitia.
Okay,
now
I was going to keep my mouth shut.
I love Rod and I love my girl Letitia. However, it's like they just hopped on the train. And again, let me turn into my Angie voice. Danny, you should have cut it off at Vinny and Amber, because what did Rod? Now, shout out. I love Rod and Letitia. I do. I really do. But y'all, because I gotta calm myself, because Rod and Letitia pissed me off last episode when they followed Danny and then they got to the gate and they just jumped over the gate and left Danny and Angie. They could have offered to pick Mother Angie up.
I know. Could you imagine they hoisted
her over the fence?
I don't think she would have let them, but they could have offered. Right. That being said, hold on.
Nice,
I feel like Letitia was very helpful when it came to the meat. I feel like she was very good at saying this goes here, this goes there, and I think that she was actually helpful. And when they finished leg day, hold on, when they finished leg day, they were in charge of getting directions to the next place. So I think they all sort of did their part. I'm trying to find something positive to say about Brice. I really am. We like to keep it positive, but
we love Ryan Letitia. We do. We really, really do. Like, I love them. I think that they are great. And I even love Letitia even more from last episode where she was like, I'm not good at this. Like, I'm letting you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there is something really, really powerful in being like, hey, this ain't my strong suit. You need to pull over. So I really love Ryan Letitia. However, so Brooke, sorry, because now I'm just ready to argue with Brooke now, because to Brooke's point about Letitia and the meat thing, okay, yeah, y'all did help all of that, but through the process of elimination, you could have got it. And y'all ran up in there and didn't even consult with the rest of the team. That's my problem with Ryan and Letitia in this alliance, where it's like they're only there, they're benefiting themselves, because we see them run into the, now mind you, I would have ran right into the meat store too, because I am a connoisseur, but like, it is very clear that they are like, we're going to run our own race. Well, you can, by no means do I feel like if Amber and Vinny were riding Letitia, by no means do I feel like Letitia and then would have been like, we gotta wait for Angie. You know? So I just feel like they are helping, but they're more self-beneficial. We see time and time again, they will put themselves ahead of them. Now, mind you, this is the race, and I am not mad at that, and I agree, and I love it. However, the Angie stan in me,
protecting Angie at all.
Well, it's interesting because I do think that, you know, I mean, Jess, you asked like what are they bringing? I think that what Rod and Letitia are able to benefit from is the fact that like they are relatively well balanced. Is that like, I think that Angie and Danny have expressed that they have this like physical deficit that they're trying to make up for. And we'll talk about this with sort of offloading some of the roadblocks to Angie in this episode, unfortunately, to her body's detriment. Amber and Vinny, you know, it seems like they have I wouldn't even say they have a problem with it, but they are definitely one of the less stable teams from like an emotional relationship perspective. And so maybe to your point, Brice, it helps to sort of have that motherly force to be like, you kids, can't you just talk it through? Like, you can get on the same page. Don't you worry. Ryan and Letitia, we talked about this from the very beginning, Jess, that they have had, I think, one of the more stable sets of racing skills. I mean, they finished first in the first two legs, even if they've kind of fallen apart in a couple places. So maybe, Brice, to your point, it's this ability for them to say, like, yeah, we'll do stuff when it helps us, but like we can also rely on ourselves to surge forward and still benefit from it, as opposed to Angie and Dana and Amber and Vinny, who more so feel like they have to rely on the other ones to keep going.
But if we're being clear, I don't know if Angie and Danny are so much relying on Vinny and Amber. We have seen that, like, because Angie said, girl, go run your race. Because I really feel like
did she mean, girl, go run your race? I mean, oh no, please.
Oh no, I know. To Brice's point, I mean, I'm a Stangy myself, and I think she 100% is like, you are being ridiculous right now. Mm-hmm. You met me a week ago.
Yeah, she's not the instigator of this alliance.
Excuse me, sorry. I just want to say, Angie was willing to let Amber go run her race after Amber gave her the answer to the puzzle. So this was not, no, sorry. But in all fairness, this is not leave us behind. This was, well, can you just tell me how to do this? And then you can go. Because Danny and Angie know they're going to find their way. And frankly, they were trying to lose people as they were driving anyway. So they didn't want to drive with them anyway. But I think they were happy to be helped before they said, run your race.
I love
everyone. I want to be really clear.
So do I. But I mean, I love everyone, but just so we're clear that Angie is like at the top.
It's clear. It's like super clear.
Wait, Brice, how do you feel about Angie? Do you
listen?
Do you not like her?
Angie! Listen, I don't know why I love her. I mean, I do know why I love her so much, but like I really do. But also when Amber was trying to help her, I really do feel like Angie was like, girl, go. She was like, this is the perfect excuse that I could let Danny know that we out of this. Because Angie had a water bottle on her head, on her back. Angie was about to check out of this. Like, first of all, why do y'all have my mother Angie strapped into a car going 300,000 miles per hour?
Amazing race.
air conditioner.
She signed up for this.
You got to be ready for anything.
Brice is really selling elder abuse right now.
I'm just going to say one thing. I do have one problem. And this comes from someone who thought for a hot second about taking a penalty. She was ready to take a penalty. How did nobody... and I confirmed there was only one solution to this puzzle. It was a 9-piece puzzle with one possible solution. How did so many people have such a problem? It had to connect. This was not a ridiculously hard slide. This was a 9-piece puzzle with one solution of a racetrack that had to connect. I do not know how people had such a problem with this.
Yeah, we call that a Caitlyn in these parts.
Wait, girl, Brooke, you are cracking me up because you saying that. Y'all know I do love Letitia, but did y'all see Letitia's first puzzle?
It was like modern art. It didn't make any sense.
It reminded me of the cops from 2 seasons ago when they had to like roller up the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, let's just put it up anyway. Because I was like, Letitia, girl, if that's the race that you ran on that track, how are you alive?
Here's the part where we jumped and turned sharp left in the middle of the jump.
This was the mama rat and baby rat did yoga, and it was a positive experience of a 9-piece puzzle. That
mama rat and baby rat went off-roading.
Yeah, but still, that one is the thing that I think got caught in people's heads is like they read the prompt, like, okay, we have to memorize this course. I don't think many of them looked at it and said, oh, we just have to put a puzzle together, and then we have like a 2-minute joyride to get like our inner ears shaken up as all get out.
I think Juan might have figured that out.
Okay, no. I was with Shane. Shane was like, it ain't no way. Yeah, he gonna get that, and I'm like, who did the puzzle? Was it Juan or Shane?
It was Juan who did the puzzle.
Juan did the puzzle.
Right, Juan did the puzzle. And I'm like, Shane, you cannot be talking because I still can't get over the way Shane cut that avocado. Okay? So, but this is going to be great for TV.
But yeah, to be fair, I think once you realize what the task is, like, everyone is Shalisa in that moment, walking over being like, this is what took you so long? This is what you were supposed to do?
Shalisa said I should have done it. I love Shalisa.
Love her so much to the point where I messaged her. I did not know who went home. I don't know anything, but I messaged her for the first time at the suggestion of another racer last night and was like, hey, I love you guys so much. And then I saw her go home and I was like, how could you tell me to reach out to her and say like how great they are? And then they went home a half hour. I felt a little embarrassed, but I love Shalisa. She was so kind. She wrote something so nice back. I can't wait to meet them in person in a few weeks. But Brice and I have talked about how much we love them, and they were doing so well. And I feel that had they not switched the first detour, they probably would have stayed in the race. And I wish they never had because they were actually really close to finishing it.
Right. Yeah. So that's the question, I think, as we're sort of like working our way backwards here. Was the problem for Derek and Shalisa? No, it's fine. Like, we're doing things out of order here. Is it that, do you think their bigger problem is that they switched detours or that they didn't pick the bike to begin with? Do you think if they had stayed at this, what did Letitia call it? Like baloney when she was reading up the detour options. If they had stuck with the bolas, do you think they would have survived?
Absolutely. I was just confused because Shalisa was, Shalisa was so happy because she was like, Derek got a good arm. Shalisa where? Because shout out to Shalisa got it. Derek I was like, I think the thing even went backwards. But I really do feel like if they would have stayed, I think that they could have been in such a better position.
Well, the impression I got when I talked to them, actually, I just got off the phone with them like about an hour ago. The impression I got from talking to them is that they just regretted not getting on the bikes in the first place.
Exactly.
Shalisa's a Peloton rider. She knew that there was something she could do, but they were like, let's do the thing that sounds more fun, which, that's a perfectly fine, amazing race strategy most of the time. The thing that, I don't know. It depends on why you're there.
I get that a person once famously said that the amazing race is supposed to be fun and good, but like at the same time, I don't know. For all you know, you could have been riding a bike through Carnival. Like for all you know, this could have been a super. And granted,
50 miles through rural Vietnam on a 1-gear bicycle.
Yeah.
I would steer away from the bicycles if you're.
Yeah, anything involving a bike, we're just gonna.
Yeah, but I do feel like, to me, like, and I understand where they were coming from as well, especially if they were like in the back of the pack and they're like, you know what, we're only in Argentina once. Let's try to do this thing. I also do think, to the point about Derek's arm, he had told me that he had like done the demonstration once and was like, let's do it. I got this. Because he just thought he had that natural athleticism. And maybe that also goes to show people like, hey, especially if you're going to stick with the Detour task, like try to practice with it at least a little bit longer. I don't think you could kind of like learn on the fly.
Yeah. Well, interesting thing, this has been the theme of the season, I feel like, is they give you the detour options, and one of them is like this brute force physical task that you know how long it's going to take you, and it's going to be hard, but you can just do it, versus the skill task where you could be there all day, or if you figure it out, you could be out a lot quicker than the physical task. And in a lot of cases up till now, it's been the case that people have not been choosing that physical task and they've been choosing the skill task, and it's been paying off. And I've been like, that goes against everything I've been saying for like 10 seasons of covering the show. And yet it seems like this was finally the one where that would have paid off.
I agree. I think another point.
They're both too easy, but whatever.
Bro, no. Well, I mean, I do agree with you though, because it's like they were kind of sort of easy. The one thing that I loved about these challenges was, now this may sound mean, but it really is a compliment. I got pleasure in seeing Ricky and Cesar struggle a little bit, because I was like, oh my God, they're human. Like, you're lying, because I just know that Cesar and Ricky are like superheroes. And I think this only really fueled us to see that they really are, because they struggled a little bit, but then they still were on Juan and Shane's heels. And so for me, it's like, I definitely want Ricky and Cesar to win, but I don't want them to blow everybody out the water. So I love to see them struggle a little bit, but also I love to see like Cesar like calm Ricky down. And again, I also love to see Ricky, him kind of like excel in the areas that he excels in. So it was good to see them kind of like drop out of the first place. Like, let somebody else think they could win, but really kind of like, we know it's the Ricky and Cesar show.
Yeah. Well, and I think crucially, it wasn't that they were struggling. I think the interesting part of this is that it was Ricky who was struggling, and then Cesar had to calm him down. And I loved seeing that between the two of them, but it's also like, I think this is a really like, it's a moment where you feel a lot of empathy for these people, because I think the hardest thing about being on The Amazing Race for me would be if we had to do a task, or if I was the person not doing the roadblock, my partner was doing the roadblock, or if we had to do a task where we both had to do something and I knocked it out and the other person couldn't do it. I think that would be the most frustrating and difficult thing for me. So I really felt for them a lot in that moment, like watching Ricky continue to try and fail at the task, and Cesar just like knocks it out and then waits for Ricky to get it done.
But also, I think to Brice's point, it just makes for a more entertaining story.
Sure.
Now, granted, again, the stuff they're going up against is pretty small potatoes of like, oh no, we're in second now instead of the first that we've been in for the past month. But it's still nice from like their character perspective to see them come up against something. And also at the same time to make this what looks to be kind of a 2-horse race, as opposed to other seasons where it's just been one team really dominating the entire time, and the rest of it is, okay, who's going to finish when? Now, granted, due to, I think, a bit of this alliance stuff, we did pretty much get the same finish that we did get last time, but there was enough going on in this episode to not make it feel completely empty.
Agree.
Yeah.
I think this episode had so many ups and downs and so many fun little things that happened. And I hate to draw more attention to Brice's favorite, but I think Angie was sort of like the catalyst for a lot of that. Danny and Angie, but probably mostly Angie, and a little bit of Amber. So I do think it was really, really fun. I did find myself, Brice, don't yell at me. I did find myself a little bit, even though I love the teams that were in the alliance, rooting for the Yvonne and Melissa and the Sunny and Busy, because I really don't think what happened to them was nice. But you know, it's okay.
Well, I think
it's okay.
I think that's the thing about when a bunch of teams form an alliance, it's like got this domino effect where it's like, at that point they had to work together. They had no choice. And I thought that was interesting, the way that it was not just making this one group of people do better. It was forcing everybody to play the game that exact same way, which was very Survivory, I think.
And I do think the one thing I wish that had happened, and I don't think it happened, but if they did, they didn't show it. And if it had, I'm sure they would have, is that when they get to the mat at the end, you have Yvonne and Melissa who get there and you can see it on their face. They are like, don't put your arms around me. Yvonne is not happy. And then Sunny and Busy show up. And I really thought, given Busy's lack of a filter in life, I love her, that she would have had some choice words for the people who blocked them out of the Butcher Block challenge. I was waiting for it. I was sad it didn't happen. When I saw everyone else was still on the mat, I was like, ooh, yay, fireworks. And I'm like, but wait, there's 8 seconds left. It's not going to happen. And I got a little bit sad we didn't get a little bit of tension on the mat.
I wish that would have happened, because that they felt a certain way. And that's the thing, Jess, is like, I do see your point, but it does feel like even before the formalization of it in this episode, this has really been a season of like teams helping each other at challenges, even if it's in the short term. We had like Rod and Letitia and Juan and Shane helping each other a couple episodes back. In interviews last week and this week, Derek and Shalisa had confirmed they were working with Kishori and Karishma on a couple of challenges as well. There just seems to be this spirit of like, all right, listen, many hands make light work. Let's try to put our heads together and work it through. But I think this is a very different moment, because it's less so defensive and more so offensive of like, okay, we're going to take advantage of our numbers to push you out so that we can take a lead. And listen, in the moment, I think like I give them so much kudos for, that emergent level of thinking of taking advantage of a limited stations detour that had so many stations to it. On the other hand, and this sort of runs part and parcel with, I think, a way a lot of like Amazing Race fans have been reacting. This is something we faced a lot in season 32 with the Mine 5, that like for some people, they don't want that in this type of show. They like the idea of this is a show that's devoid of that type of cutthroat social strategy that you see in a Survivor or a Big Brother. Everyone should just be hoisted by their own talents, their own individual merits, and run their own race. So I can understand if you're not necessarily watching the show for that reason. It can be a bit of a tougher pill to swallow, especially when people do make such an overt strategic maneuver as, okay, everybody stay here. We're just going to figure it all out together and block these other teams from completing it ahead of us.
Okay, I'm doing like the Nathan Fillion gif here of like, because I think the thing that's different for me about this is that I think the thing that makes it a little more tolerable and a little more interesting to watch, there's 2 things. Thing number 1 is that sometimes with Danny, it is not a social strategy thing. He's just like, I'm going to help everybody. Yeah. You see him at that point, he's helping. He's like, oh, I'm going to help. And Angie's like, stop helping them. You're only helping the people I said you could help. And then here's the other interesting thing. This is not a game-winning strategy at this moment, because they're not going to win the game. Right. Because this is like a stay in the game kind of strategy. It would be really much more annoying to watch if these were the 3 teams out in front and they were just running roughshod over everybody else.
Here's something that I will say to the naysayers about what they don't like about this alliance. And again, I am normally with you. I don't really like for teams to bulldoze their way through. However, to Jess's point, right? Danny would have helped everybody, right? So it's not like he just created this alliance. Danny is in alliance with everybody.
He's not Boston Rob.
Right. And so
he's Walla Walla Danny.
Yes, Walla Walla Danny. So my point, though, to why like Yvonne and Melissa, and not even so much Sunny and Busy, because it's like, well, where were y'all when Danny and Angie were struggling in these past things? Y'all had no problem passing them. So where was your let's help everybody now? And so now that like Danny has kind of helped everybody and now he's kind of a core alliance, I'm not mad at Rod and Letitia and Vinny and Amber for locking them down, because y'all have had how many this is what we're at the mega lake. Y'all wasn't dying to help Danny and Angie prior. So why is it an issue that now they got a core that they locked in? It would be different if Yvonne and Melissa, and again, I love them, and like, it'd be different if they were helping them, but I ain't see them helping nobody. I just seen Danny, we are the world, we love the kids, helping everybody. So like, that's
not
where I'm
Live Aid.
Like, okay.
I think Danny is just anxious to be. He's like, I'm the biggest super fan that's ever super fanned on The Amazing Race, and I got to show everybody what a great super fan I am, how much I love this show. And I think his love just kind of comes out of him, and he demonstrates it to everybody. It's not even about like doing better in the race. It's just about loving the race.
Right.
Well, at some point you got to think about doing better in the race, though.
Well,
I mean,
and that's where we have Mother Angie, because Mother Angie will lay down the law. Hey, Angie, can we help you? I don't know. Okay, when the Yvonne and Melissa was like, Angie, please help us. Angie said, I don't know. Danny did it. Then they said Danny. She said, you asked his mother. That's the answer. Okay.
I mean, I don't love that though. If
I
you're
do
gonna
though.
be cold, no. But if you're gonna be cold, be cold. Don't say I don't know. Danny did it. Just be like, I'm really sorry. Good luck, and walk away. Like
Danny did do it though.
But don't.
She
No,
lied.
Angie knew the answer. She was like, just at least say, I'm not gonna help. Please understand that and walk away.
Okay.
I don't like the. I don't like the.
What I don't like. Okay, so to your point, what I don't like is if I said no, why are you still asking me? Because that same very breath could be taken. Why are you begging me? That's like Banu when he got there on his knees with Tiffany was like, please, like, you know, and Tiffany like, get up. That's all Angie was doing, was telling Yvonne and Melissa to get up.
I mean, I absolutely see that. And it was this really awkward moment. What I do worry about from that perspective is like, again, this is not a social strategy game necessarily, but like, could there be a chance in the next few legs where a team like Angie and Danny and Amber and Vinny are falling behind and like, you know, Yvonne and Melissa and Sunny and Busy finish the roadblock ahead of time. They're like, I'm not going to pay you mind, and just keep going. You could look back at this moment as like, okay, maybe you couldn't have severed that relationship.
But I feel like, again, I feel like our queen Angie would accept her consequences. Like, I feel like she would.
She knows it's a race.
Right. And Amber was like, we gonna stay. Angie was like, baby, get your behind and get on out of here. I've lived a long life. This ain't gonna stop me today. So I really do feel like Angie would accept her fate.
Was she accepted? Do you think she saw like the light coming as she was just getting knocked on her ass by all those soccer players?
Oh, no.
They went very easy on Angie. They went very easy.
Really did.
I mean, I would too.
Please don't hurt me. No. Knock everybody over. If you're going to if you get in there, expect to be knocked over.
MFer in the black shirt, count your days. And I'm telling you.
It's like you're at a show and you're on the loudspeaker being like, you in the black shorts.
You in the black shirt that hit Angie from behind, and Angie went up in the air. She already was going 3,000 miles an hour. To that jerk in the black shirt, look at me now. Count your days. That's all I'm going to say, because the nerve. And I felt like they didn't take it easy on Angie. Angie was up in the air. Like, and mind you, then here go Danny, and I love Danny getting on my nerves. Mom, are you okay? Danny, your mother is in the air right now.
I think it's more like they knocked her down once, and she was very clearly shaken up by it. And then after that, they're like, okay, we're not going to touch her anymore.
She still got hit a couple of times after that. I counted. I seen Angie on the ground 6 times.
No, that was just one time. She just didn't want to get
one time from 6 angles.
And a commercial break in between where they repeat the last 15 seconds again.
Which is really funny when you're watching it without the commercials and you get like the shot of, Mom, are you okay? And then 10 seconds later, it fades to black, comes back up. Mom, are you okay?
I gotta say though, no matter who the participant, hilarious challenge. Absolutely 100%.
We gotta talk about Cesar because that was the best thing.
Oh my God. I'm exhausted, but I'm heavy. So I just knocked everybody over. And I've not laughed so hard in quite some time. He was such a joy. He's just a joy. I just love him. He is a joy in everything he does. I mean, they both are, but he is just, I didn't know I didn't realize that I could, and I'm big, so here I go. And he just bulldozed.
It's just bodies everybody.
Cesar really was the equivalent of like, I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. As these poor day players are like, probably just got hired off the street of like, go stand in this bubble gossip and run into these Americans. I don't think they expected to like go with contusions to the emergency room after Cesar just rams roughshod over them.
It was Rod.
Cesar pulled a Rod. I mean,
Rod. Okay. Well, here's the question: Cesar versus Rod in this game. who wins.
I mean, still Rod probably, but it says
Did you hear the trash that Rod was talking when he was like, "Get off me! You can't do that!" Like he's just going to town.
I think they were trying to knock him over and they couldn't.
Yes, and
I mean,
Rob was like, "We can hit him. This is contact." Letitia, get your phone out. Shalissa, get your phone out. Letitia, like Rob was about to take the whole thing. The guy was like, I felt like one of the guys took the bubble off. I was like, I'm on your team.
Right, I'm wearing yellow. Like, leave me. Just
don't hit me.
Yeah, you talk about everyone running away from AJ. I think everyone was running away from Rob. Like, no. This challenge just got reversed.
I want to play against the old lady. I don't want to play against the NFL player. So it's fine. We are all over the place.
Oh
no, this is fine.
This is how we roll. Like we've been in bubbles and
like Angie.
Yeah.
Not too much.
Don't get him started.
Not too much. We had one of my least favorite things happen. This happened several times this season where we got 2 halves of a detour and nobody did one half of it.
R.I.P. CSI task.
And Derek and Shalisa were pretty pissed about this too because they are cops and they wanted to do it and they didn't get to do a roadblock.
So I'm watching and I used to be an assistant district attorney and I made it a point to learn all of the tests that were done. If I was going to be trying a case, I want to know how everything's done. I've actually gotten to do like a variation of like fingerprint analysis and I was like, this is great. This is awesome. And then Kishori, who's sitting next to me, goes, nobody does it. So don't get so excited. You're not going to see it. And I'm like, blessed. But I really would have been excited to see Derek and Shalisa do this because of their employment. I think they would have been really, really great at it. Did they tell you, did they even get to do a final detour or
no, they basically, Derek got his ass knocked around and they basically got handed a clue that said like, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Like, because you could see like, you could also, if you clock like the position of the sun by the time Derek finished that first roadblock, like it was getting pretty late. And these legs, even mega legs, I feel like only take like 4 to 5 hours at the most. So the die was pretty much cast, but I felt so sad, not just because it's also a very different task that we get on The Amazing Race, but like, could you imagine the local that they dressed up in probably some sort of like Sherlock Holmesy outfit saying like, oh, the clue is muy bien, and then just give them, the next thing once they finger the culprit.
You have found your suspect and given them. What was the other one that they did that nobody got to see? What was the other?
That was a couple of episodes ago. We missed out on what did we miss out on, Mike? I can't remember now.
Well,
we didn't get to see it, so I don't remember it.
Yeah. Well, there was the we almost missed out on the paper flags. That was the one that nearly nobody got to do. We also had there was the Willies as well in Colombia that two teams tried but never completed.
Failed,
and then tried again and then switched away from it and then thought maybe we can do it and then said no, we can't do it.
And even in the last time when we had like the climbing versus just like, hey, get $2 from everybody collectively, like there's been a real imbalance in detours this season, but this was obviously the most extreme considering that everybody took it because it wasn't even, again, physical versus something that's more mental. This was like something that's going to take some time versus, okay, especially if you have people around you, you can pretty much brute force your way through a memory task.
That's true. Yeah. Or, hold the stations hostage so that nobody else can do it. And then there you go.
Yeah, which I feel like they were trying to force people to do the fingerprints by having the limited stations, but because you didn't have limited stations on the first half of it, it was like people are still going to be there doing the thing.
I actually thought that 2 of the teams might have swapped when the butcher blocks were being held hostage and they would have gotten to see the other side, but I'm glad they stayed there and they really, really almost surpassed them. If Sunny and Busy and Yvonne and Melissa had shown up at the pit stop before the team of 6, I think that would have just been beautiful. Like, even if it was just 10 seconds before.
Yeah. The thing I loved about this leg for the longest time, the thing that was making me really excited was the fact that they had both jumped ahead of those 3 teams for the longest part of the leg. I was like, this is cool. They made up the time. Maybe I don't have to go to my grave loathing this, staggered departure thing.
No, you do.
That's the thing is that like it makes, again, as frustrating as it might be for some people, it also makes total sense to me of like, they all left in the same departure group. They all make an agreement at the beginning of the leg. Great. We're going to work together for the entirety of this mega leg, especially. And they were able to carry through. And yeah, I totally agree, Jess. I was thrilled. It's like, okay, we're finally getting something's shaking up. It's not like a team has to like slowly nudge their way up before they can finally peek into the top group like we saw with Juan and Shane. But unfortunately, it was not to be. Though, again, maybe it might be. So we'll have 7 teams next week. So I imagine they're going to do like a 2-2-3 departure time, which means Angie and Danny, who were technically 5th place, now have to leave in the last group. That's something that really, I think, shakes up perhaps this alliance structure. As much as Amber,
that's fine because you'll have Vinny and Amber and Rod and Letitia who just wait 15 minutes for Danny and Angie to start.
Can we switch? Can we have a Melissa and Sunny Busy go before us?
Because Danny's going to route the route, so he's going to know where they're going regardless. So I'm not worried.
I also will say, though, as much as, again, it kind of got brute force, I did like the meat tour, if you will, in that, you know, it's even if you were a Cesar and you like knew the cuts of meat, they were still in Spanish. And so there was this additional element of like, you couldn't 5-hole this unless you were very specifically a Spanish speaking butcher. You would not be able to say, oh, I can ace this challenge. Because even if you knew the cuts of meat, you'd still have to memorize what the words were, which took obviously a few tries.
Well, I mean, I feel like as a meat connoisseur of myself, it doesn't matter if it's Spanish, it doesn't matter if it's Asian, it doesn't matter if, you know, like I feel like the name doesn't matter. You know, I could spot a meat. I could place it where it needs to go.
I bet that puzzle area smelled terrific.
I was going to say, like, I'm surprised they hunkered down for that point, considering that it probably smelled, especially like the Argentinian heat, raw meat just sitting there for hours on end.
I wish they had to eat 4 pounds of meat before they got to go on to the next thing. I want them to have to eat things.
What if you had to eat it every time you got it wrong?
Well, I do think you should have to run back to the butcher, even if it's just run and get back to your station every time you got it wrong.
Right.
Especially with the limitation.
With the Rebus puzzle, right? Of like, they should have been able to go back to the beginning and do something before they could do the next answer.
I think that there was a little bit of lacking there because it would have been actually really, really fun to see the 3 teams have to sprint because it was about a block and a half apart. The 3 teams have to sprint back. And
you couldn't hog the tables that way.
Right.
You couldn't hog the tables. And then you're also watching Angie sprint back and forth. And I just think that would have been hilarious and wonderful.
But we didn't have to do that. And you want to know why? Because Danny read his clue. And that is one of the biggest things on Amazing Race is that if you read your clue, sometimes there is a loophole. And shout out to Danny.
No, he did great. When he told everybody, go stand there and don't move, he's smart. Look, as someone who is quick to say, I was not the fastest, I was not the strongest, but I knew this game inside and out. And my own little bone to pick with Jess and Mike here is when you guys talk about super fans, I feel like maybe I'm a little bit overlooked and that hurts my heart a little bit because I
wasn't your story.
Tell them.
No. It wasn't my story, but it should have been my story. My story was weak and sad, but that's fine.
Yeah, I think you have missed the part where every week when we talk about the superfans, I say we have a lot more superfans on this show than they ever say are superfans because that's a different story. And Brooke got she drew the sad card, the crying all the time and bad at the race card when you knew that you won the race. You weren't. Yeah, you didn't blow it up there.
I don't think I drew the bad at the race card. I think I drew the if you watched me on mute, very confident at the race.
Yes,
if you watched me talking, I could not convince myself that I was very confident at the race. So like I always did the stuff, but I like to tell myself I couldn't do anything. And I have learned that is not true. Yeah. So when there is an ultimate winner season, you best be sure there's already alliances that have been made for that.
And Miss Camhi, to all of them haters that, like to talk to smack, because also, I don't know if y'all know, Brooke is in a cult of a Facebook group that, but so all of the haters out there, because sometimes they be coming from my girl Brooke, and, we are classy and we are a rise above it.
People should just be in our Facebook group. We don't do that.
To people that like, oh, she cried, oh, she did all of this. Brooke, can you remind me? Because, I had forgotten, I'm a Survivor girlie. Who won season 29?
Oh, So there were this redheaded guy and this brunette New Yorker girl. It was me. You don't have to be positive all the time, and you don't have to be good at everything, but you have to not give up. And that is why I do think that Danny and Angie actually stand a fighting chance, because as much as she thought about it, this is my favorite moment of the episode. Danny kneels in front of his mom and says, listen, we're not going to take, it's 4 hours because he knows his rule book. We cannot doing this now. We're just, you take as much time as you need, but we're not taking a penalty. So as much as she was, ruling the roost and saying, don't help people, he was like, if the word penalty comes out of your mouth, I swear to God, you will rue the day you said it. So that was my favorite moment from him.
And it was a really fun switch of the dynamic too, as Danny sort of vocalized, like, I feel like Jeff Probst being like, the thing about being a parent is that you have to be the one that's usually the one like encouraging or like almost foisting this mentality in their kid of like, don't give up. But here, Danny has to be the one to say like, nope, we are not doing this right now. You can absolutely do it. You might be a puddle by the end of this. You might be liquid Angie that's just oozing out of the car door by the time you're done with it. But you and I both know we're going to get this done at the end of the day. And so I think it was a really fun way to view their dynamic in a completely new way, where I think up to this point, we've just seen a lot of her saying like, oh, I'm here for him. This is his experience. I'm along for the ride. Here, though, I think like there was a really big switch up in their dynamic that felt really unique to me.
Reason 8,000, sorry, Jess, 632, why I love Angie, because while Danny was giving that speech, do you remember what she said after he was done? Angie was like, we'll see. Okay, like Angie was like, listen.
Angie gonna Angie.
Angie going Angie. Angie was like, I don't know if I can give me some time, because I don't know if y'all gonna strap me back up in that car. But again, that's why I love Angie, because she wasn't just like, yeah, let's go get him. Angie was like, with that ice on her head, like, let me see. Let me catch my breath. So again, just shut up.
Well, I think the relationship between the two of them is really fascinating. And it kind of makes me happy. Like we've said before, like Danny is such a super fan. Why was he bringing his mom on? And we know that wasn't who he applied with. And they're like, hey, you got anybody like a mom you could bring on?
Any moms?
Got any moms? But it makes me wonder, Brooke, specifically with regard to like how you were running your race. It makes me wish I saw the Sliding Doors universe in which you were there with somebody you knew. Because if Scott was great, but I would have loved to see, like, I don't know who you wanted to be on with, but.
Well, I applied with my brother. We flew to Houston once for 18 hours just to do a live audition. I applied with sorority sisters for the family edition because we were all like, let's do something fun. And it was sorority sisters. I applied with a girlfriend. And my dad was very prepared to go do it. My mom was not. But when I applied with a girlfriend, they're like, we may do a season of separates. Just the 4, Brice. I applied 4 times. We may do a season of separates. Is there someone you would go with, but also would you go by yourself? And I was like, I will go with my dog. I will go with, I don't care.
If you did this the race with the dog would devour that meat in the Detour. Like,
there was a show like this on Amazon, by the way.
Bacon would, yes, I saw that. Bacon would have, that's the dog, would have left us all in the dust. I do think that it worked out probably the best way. My brother and I would have murdered each other, but I think we would have been good together. But we're similar, and I think that Scott and I are just very different. And I think, you know what, as hard as it was to do this with someone you'd never met, it ended up working out how it should have. So let them show me cry. I don't care.
Cry got the $1 million.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, sorry, my brain is just racing. I think I'm gonna have to look through every leg from now on, thinking how good would a dog be at this. So, like, I think
we had that whole season of Ryan and Dusty.
That's true, but that was a dog turned into a human. We're talking about like a dog,
an actual dog. Yes.
So, like the Me Tour dog would kill or like devour. The roadblock, this would be the dog's wheelhouse, right? Because the dog could run at extraordinary speeds. Just they wouldn't be able to catch up to the dog. Plus, who wants to hit a dog? The other roadblock, I don't think a dog can put together a puzzle. I think the dog would get very directionally confused, but dogs do like to go in the car.
I do kind of think Bacon would have been at least as good as some of the other contestants because they were just so ass backwards.
Very true.
But I think, unfortunately, the first Detour would have to be a hang-up. Like, I think they would be chasing after the bolas like they were tennis balls. They wouldn't make it to that cow. And a dog can't pedal a bike. So I think, unfortunately, it stops there.
Did you catch when Juan and Shane were leaving?
The dog that was following them?
Of course. I have a tally. I want to adopt every stray dog ever. It's my I rescued a dog from the Grand Central Parkway once. I am a bleeding heart animal lover. And so every time there's an animal, we have a tally on our podcast that talks about this is dog number 8 of the season where Brooke would have taken it home. I would have probably grabbed it and taken it in the car because it was following us up if it was following us up the stairs. I was so distracted by every animal on the race.
Well, speaking of Juan and Shane, I feel like this is like the only team that we haven't really spoken about. But you say that, like, you know, Angie and Danny still have the capacity to win. I guess my question is, like, are Juan and Shane starting to look like the front runners at this point? Are they starting to look like neck and neck with Ricky and Cesar? Juan claimed last week, we're just a first place team that happens to be finishing in the middle of the pack. And like, at the moment, you're like, yeah, right. But they got a second place finish and now a pretty commanding first place finish with Juan doing that roadblock, the only person to do it in one try.
I really like Juan and Shane. I've not an experienced Amazing Racer like everyone here. I've recently got in and fell in love with Amazing Race. And from the seasons that I have watched, it's never the team in the beginning that is leading the pack, which is why I'm so nervous for Ricky and Cesar. It's always a team that is either trailing behind them or like in 5th and 6th. And then towards the mega leg, they start to make a run for it. So there's a world where I could see Juan and Shane taking it as well. And so I definitely feel like they have gotten their stride, and I think Amazing Race does a great job with foreshadowing. And so I think that there is a definite reason why they put that we are a first place team kind of traveling in the back. And so I could definitely see a Juan and Shane going to the end. It would be interesting for me personally. Again, I can't say how much I love Ricky and Cesar. I love Ricky and Cesar. I like Juan and Shane. I love.
How do you feel about Angie? No, please don't.
Love me some Angie. I am happy that Angie had.
That sounds like Angie in the car as she was getting turned around.
And I love Angie, and by default, because she birthed Danny, I love Danny. However, honestly, I would really like to see another team, whether it be somebody from the Alliance, whether it be Sunny and Busy. I would really like for them to kind of like, let's give Ricky and Cesar, Juan and Shane, let's give them a little bit of run for their money. Like, for me, that is what I'm missing. And even if it is Danny and Angie, like, I want them. If it's Vinny and Amber, I want them. If it's Sunny and Busy, I want them.
Yvonne, I think the problem is, no, I love Yvonne and Melissa. You be careful. I think the problem is in a season such as this, where you are relegated to just one quadrant of the world, where it is all Spanish-speaking countries, with the exception of maybe Barbados, which might be a French-speaking country.
But it's also going to be probably like the last stop they take before the United States.
Sure. And so where it's clearly not by any racer's fault of their own an advantage to speak the native language. And there's no U-turns, and there's no fast forwards, and there's no express passes, and there's no yields, and there's no anything that can actually hinder a team that's in the front. I really would be so excited to see like a Ricky and Cesar on a regular season where strategy comes into play a little bit more, because right now, and I have no problem with it, I love them, they sort of have the ability to run away with it because of the circumstances they find themselves in by no fault of their own.
That is true. But I do feel like what this episode highlighted to me, Mrs. Camhi, is that they are human, right? Like I feel like, and again, I don't want to foreshadow this, but like I'm putting it out there. I feel like what we witnessed with Ricky this episode, I could see something similar, and I could see them falling behind a little bit more. And then that
to like third place or
something, but even it doesn't matter, because whatever place that they're going to fall into, then the next thing that they do, they're going to jump right back to the top. But for me to be happy with the season, I want to see them kind of struggle a little bit more, so it's not that like y'all just had it in the bag. And I want to see another team kind of come up. I don't think we talk about Rod and Letitia enough, is that like they are a very strong team. Although we have seen Letitia be like, I ain't dancing for no money unless it's Ron. We've seen Letitia being like, if it ain't Google Maps, I ain't doing it. But again, there is something very strong about the way that she communicates with Ron, because Ron is like, let's go, we gonna do this, what you wanna do, let's go. And Letitia is like,
the late DMX come back to life for like 5 seconds.
But we see Letitia be like, okay, whenever you done, I still said what I said, and let's figure this out. There's something about that dynamic that I'm like, I like Letitia. And sidebar to the sidebar. Last season, I think Todd and Ashley loved them. And I thought like, how and why is Ashley, every time she show up on the screen, she is gorgeous. She's beautiful. Her makeup. I feel the same thing about Letitia. Her lashes are together. Her waist is snatched. The hair be in a ponytail. Like, I just love the way Letitia just show up and it's like, all right, what we doing today, Rod? But so again, I can see Rod and Letitia getting to the top and just and also, you know, Brooke always says there is a challenge or a detour or something for every team.
If you last long enough, I think
if you last long enough. Yeah. I really hope that we get to the detour where you have to take your shirt off and, you know, because I just want to see Rod a little bit more. I feel like the fans, the viewers, we just haven't seen enough of Rod. And what I love about Rod is I feel like Rod wants to show us, the viewers. So it's like,
Brice wants to see that. There was a challenge a long time ago before you started watching Brice where they had to go in and be like bodybuilders and everyone. God, why do I think it was Ernie and Cindy's season? I'm not sure if that's
it was because I specifically remember Bill and Kathy having to do the strongman competition.
Yep. And I remember
he wants to see Rod be the strongman because they were in the teeniest little outfits.
Or the underwear running one in Siberia is the other one I was thinking of. And that one, I
better hope that they're wearing underwear because one of the contestants was going commando that day and they had to lend her some underwear.
Right. Yeah. The reason I remember that one is because Phil got into the spirit of things as well.
And Phil's great. Shout out to Phil. I love Phil.
Shout out to Phil.
Though I do have a bone to pick. Why did he not say that they were team number one? Like, that's something Phil would have done. This man is a master of dad jokes. We have to imagine he did it in the moment and it didn't make the cut, right?
Yeah, he must have.
That's fair. He's great.
So, random thought, and then I'll stop speaking as much. But when we're talking about like them being in a Spanish-speaking country and Juan and Cesar having this advantage, can we just, for a second, because as much as I love Angie and Danny, I also feel like I loved Corey and Rob last season. And like, can we just talk about like, if we're saying that like they speak the language and such an advantage, like sometimes I don't know, people give, I mean, sure, Corey is great, but I don't know if people give Rob enough credit, because if we're saying that they speak the language as an advantage, like Rob was at a disadvantage and Rob did not let he ain't let nothing stop him. That man got out of a boat and was swimming trying to find that, like, so again, it just makes me think of like, yeah, it might be an advantage, but sometimes there are just some teams that Rob and Corey, like, we love Corey, but we love Rob. Shout out to Rob.
I mean, in all fairness, though, that race went around the world. And so it wasn't like you were in one little area where speaking one language would have been an advantage the entire time. You know my feeling on Rob. Love it. Like, could not love that team more. Corey's fantastic. Love them both. But I mean, anyone who says that it's not advantageous to be a fluent Spanish speaker on this particular season of the race,
it's like silly. It's like setting you up for a 5-hole practically.
Yeah, it's a race-long 5-hole. I mean, I do see Brice's point about Rod and Leticia though. Like they have been definitely, obviously, like they had to fall from finishing first in the first 2 legs. But what I do think is interesting about them, and I'll compare it to Derek and Shalisa as well. We've been talking about this throughout the season, Jess, right? Of like, these two talk to each other in a certain way, but like it's not those moments where we're all like, ooh, you know, we're not anticipating like a season 6 scenario like we did with many of those couples. It's just more so they talk to each other how they do, and their relationship is built on that. Again, like Derek and Shalisa, if you do a transcript of the things they say to each other, you would think, oh my God. But the fact of the matter is, like, they've been communicating this way for decades, and they have so much love and faith in each other that support them throughout. And I get that sense with Ron and Leticia as well. Yes, they did have a little bit of loggerheads moments last episode with them driving into the mountains for whatever reason. But I think, you know, if we compare them to a couple like, unfortunately, Amber and Vinny, that I think are a lot more explicit about the fact that they are just not communicating on the same page, that cogency, that sort of unity between them could definitely win out, especially in a very high stakes situation where like the teams start to winnow down and there's less room for error.
I agree. I also can let me give Vinny and Amber some love a little bit, right? Because I definitely feel like they're of a newer relationship, and I feel like they're just like they're not
4 years. Like it's not
Yeah,
that
yes.
new.
That's
four
not very
years
new.
4 years longer than my current relationship. But I I just feel like they're speaking the wrong language. However, they seem to always in the end kind of like get it together. And it's like I appreciate a Vinny. Although I was yelling at him last week because he was like, Amber, I'm gonna talk to you on your level. The fastest person on the team is the slowest person on the team. But then Vinny is like, I need you to do that. Like, so it's like, I feel like they're learning each other. And I feel like there is something so relatable to that where it's like, I agree with Vinny sometimes. I agree with Amber the other times. And I like to see the little bit of the train wreck, but also you can see that there is love there. And I think that for me, Amber showing her heart this episode with Angie, for me, that showed a different side of her. And it's like, that's a strength, right? Like you care, you're compassionate, and sometimes it's not like a physical strength that you can't quantify in that aspect. But I do feel like we haven't seen Amber's challenge yet, and I think that she will excel.
I'm excited.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna stupidly say I'm excited for the roadblock where they have to put the needle in the balloon. That's Amber's wheelhouse.
Let's hope. I actually think I relate to Amber a lot because as the slower person on a 2-person team it's different because I had a partner. We didn't know how to communicate with each other because we didn't know each other. So I do think that if he wasn't a anesthetist, I think Vinny might be a really good hostage negotiator. I just think he knows how to like sort of diffuse a situation after it gets really heated. Now, I also think he's part of the reason it gets heated, but that being said, I think that they're great, but I feel for her because I was admittedly an emotional racer because I wanted to be there. When I was in college, I made a list of 30 things to do before I died. Number 2, and it's laminated on this list, is Run the Amazing Race. Like I have loved this show since not college, law school. That's when it started. College. I have loved this show since the inception and made it a goal. Like so I feel like stop laughing at me. I feel like
Brooke,
I want to know what else is on the list.
Do you still own that laminated list? Because I need.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, in the vicinity?
It's in the guest room. I know exactly where it is. I have a suitcase, like a decorative suitcase that has the list and has things in the box that when something is completed, I have proof of each thing in the list. Like fly an airplane was on the list, and then I did, and I have the video of me piloting an airplane. And so like everything is in this. Sing at Carnegie Hall on the list, the program of when I sang at Carnegie. So it's all in there. It's not done yet, but it's in there.
I love
reach your goals.
Incredible.
The point I was trying to make is that I feel for Amber, and I want her to be successful because sometimes it's those emotional people who you can tell are just trying as hard as they can. It's an Angie thing too. She's doing as much as she can and her body will physically allow. But when you have a partner who finds it easier and doesn't have the same physical limitation for whatever reason, I can see how much that's straining her and draining on her. And I really want her to be successful because of it. That's where I was going before we went on a tangent.
Yes. Now, 2 things I do want to know, but then I want to say something. Did you self-laminate it or did you take it to like a store that they like put it through the machine and laminate it? Because you give me the type of girl that like you self-laminated it and like ironed it on. Which one?
No, I took it to a place, so it was.
I was gonna say, Brice, you could just say Rachel Berry to describe that first time.
Okay, I love that though, bro.
I was thinking.
Also, Sunny and Busy, right? This episode, we didn't see them get lost, and I know why we didn't see them get lost because Busy took off her glasses. She didn't have her glasses on all season. Busy has been having them glasses on, and it's like, girl, you in the car.
Well, no, but did you
she
see
just had her pupils dilated?
Yeah. Like she went to the eye doctor, but did you see she did have them on? So then when she got absolutely knocked on her ass during the roadblock, the glasses just went flying.
They got stuck in the bubble.
Notice that's funny.
No, I didn't know she had her pupils. What, she had LASIK surgery before she
No,
went?
it looks like when you go to the eye doctor, you have those giant shades.
Brice bought a pair.
I bought a pair. I have a Busy pair.
He has a pair.
Let me see if I got a hold of it.
Do you think maybe it's just because the fires are so bright that they invented those sunglasses because it's just to block your eyes from all the heat?
I honestly, they are such a train wreck. And he's not returning them. He loves them.
Oh no, these are cute.
I thought Sunny and Busy were such a train wreck, and they do something so dumb and so smart in every episode that I'm not allowing them to go home. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like they beast through one roadblock, but then the other one is just such a mess. And then they get super, super lost, but then they're amazing because they realize that the colors of the wheels on the skateboard are a thing. Like, sometimes common sense, because not so common.
You can't even say like they're good at this thing but not good at this thing, or
right, because they don't get the same thing right. Right,
it's never the same thing correct twice.
No, well, I think they're essential with the loss of Kishori and Karishma. Tragically, like we need that chaos spot to be occupied, and so I'm glad that Sunny and Busy are really providing that, because not a lot of the other teams are, especially with like the 3-team alliance, the 6-person team. Brooke, I think you put so well. They are able to support each other in a way that maybe independently they could provide more chaos. This is a downside of sort of eliminating these teams that we knew were probably not going to make it terribly far, is that we're missing out on that factor. But hopefully it'll keep on continuing throughout the rest of the race.
There is a world
I think we
where
should bring back Kishori and Karishma. Sorry,
so do I.
Yeah, I want to see them in that soccer roadblock.
I think Karishma would have been in there. It would have been get out of my way.
No. Because you know how they do things, right? It'd be like, who wants to score a goal? And Kishori's like, I know you play soccer, Karishma, but I think it's my turn. It's like, damn it. No, I picked the wrong one again.
That's fine. You can pick the wrong one and still survive. We did that several times. We were a mess.
There is a world, again, where I could see Sunny and Busy, like acing, getting all things right, and school, like moving to the top 3. I do still
they had it this week until the 6-person team blocked them out of that detour. They were going to be 3rd place. It was going to be beautiful.
We might break the alliance up next episode depending on how they fall, and one of Melissa or Yvonne or Busy and Sunny might fall into because Danny don't care. Whoever is around, Danny gonna help. So and again, as hard as I am on Yvonne and Melissa this episode, only just because they got in the way of Angie, or I do.
That's why you hate those soccer players too. They got in the way of Angie.
Yeah, but listen, I'm coming for them.
Don't get him started.
No Brice and Win events in Argentina anytime soon.
No, we're gonna have a soccer match, and I'm gonna find them same people. But I sometimes look at Amazing Race like Survivor, and I think of like Erica's season, where we didn't really get to see a lot of what Erica was doing until the end. I think similarly of that of Yvonne and Melissa, where we just really haven't seen a lot of them, and we have seen a little bit more of them this episode, and it's like, could they be hiding them from us, or there's just always room for improvement? And so I think that they are a strong team as well, and if they get on the right side of the Danny alliance, I think it could propel them forward.
I mean, we'll see, considering what happened. They're not leaving things great with Angie and Danny into this episode. So we'll see. I do agree, though, and it's tough, especially with 90-minute episodes. There really is no excuse. I think the thing is just like, I keep saying this, but they're not in the lead, so they're not given airtime to introduce these tasks to us for the first time. And I would say of the teams that are in the middle to the back of the pack, are they the most exciting television? No, they are in a very sweet, loving relationship, and they're very calm, down-to-earth people, which I think, unfortunately, has them outshined by all of the chaos and characters around them. But I do hope that they sort of have these moments, even in the race, where, like, they'll get to do really well. I mean, did one of them work for the CIA? Shouldn't they have done the fingerprints challenge?
Yeah, you would think that would be a good challenge for them to do. But I think that at that point, they were just like, we're teaming up with who's next to us because we just want to stay in it. And I'm fine with that strategy. I think it makes good sense. I feel for Danny because a couple weeks ago, last week, I don't know, where he was like, I'm scared to go off on my own because if you can see another team, then all you need to do is beat that one other team. I mean, we had a moment in Greece where we had the opportunity to take a flight that was supposed to leave like an hour earlier, but there was just room for one team. And I had to talk Scott out of it. Like, he was mad that we didn't take it. So we stayed with other teams. And I told him, I was like, FYI, I checked on that flight at the next airport. I go, it was delayed by 3 hours. And he was like, oh my God, I didn't check. I just want to make him feel better. So, because he was like, we could have been in the front. And I was like, or we could have been in the back by ourselves. So I was hesitant.
I'm so mad they didn't film this. That would have been an incredible storyline to make the episode.
Happy. It's fun. It was funny. We had moments of so much fun, and you could see glimpses of it because when there was no crying, like they had to show something, so they showed us having fun. But I unfortunately did provide enough tears that they were like, I was the intro to every commercial. And on the next episode of The Amazing Race, a contestant reaches her breaking point. With the exception of the only episode where somebody else was medically evacuated, it was always
when it wasn't Floyd dying, it was Brooke crying.
It's fine.
Oh my God. Well, anything else we want to say about this episode to the Mega League? Looking forward, looks like this is our one stop in Argentina. We're going to Uruguay, I believe, to finish off the end of our South American trip.
Spanish, right? Mm-hmm.
Brice, anything else you want to say?
Shout out to my girl Angie.
I'm so glad you mentioned her. You have it this entire podcast.
You know, I didn't want to be
If you want to see
biased.
another podcast solely about Angie, check out her.
I mean, you know, Angie really did it for me this episode. But again, the alliance was something interesting, and I just am very thankful for Danny because, again, this is something that I was not loving, but his strength has been the thing that is holding him and his mom's team together, and it's really putting them in a great position because without it, I don't know where they would be or where I would be without having the pleasure of getting to root for my girl Angie.
I would like to shout out Derek and Shalisa because honestly, I found them such a joy to watch.
So much fun.
Their relationship reminds me a lot of mine, where it's like, it's not bickery. It's just we know how we communicate with each other. It's all love. I don't think there's any harshness there. I think it's sarcasm, and I think it's hilarious when she looked at that puzzle and she goes, "This is what you had around with? Like, are you kidding me? Like, this is." But then they get to the end and they're so proud of each other, and there's no hostility and there's no negativity, and it's all so much love. I was praying for them to get to the finals. Like, I really, really enjoy their dynamic. I'm sad to see them go. I think when they lost their race daughters, they were out next. I feel like it took a big loss these past 2 weeks. But
they were race empty nesters. But I do love, though, to your point, Brooke, like it was super nice that they walked in head to head. But Shalisa did say walking, like, and Derek said that we were going to walk here. Can you believe that, Phil?
But that's fun. Like, that's funny. They have an adorable relationship. And he's like, I'm so proud of my wife, and she's so proud of him, but not without just like a little extra.
I'm also going to blame Derek a little bit because in the first episode when Shalisa's crossword puzzle fell out the book bag, and if we would have kept it while they was in the hotel, Derek could have been practicing on the puzzles a little bit more.
You are to be studying the race when you're not racing. What are you bringing 5 pounds of crossword puzzles? I love them.
I wish I'd asked about that now.
Well, I was going to say, were you surprised to know that they had barely watched any Amazing Race before applying to the Amazing Race?
Not surprised.
Considering, but that was also very, definitely check out both Jess's interview and my interview, because even in that interview, I asked them about it, and Shalisa comes in and be like, and Derek said on the first thing he says on the call is, we're super fans of the Amazing Race, and I said, hell no, we're not. And like, if I was casting the show, I would want to book them through the first 5 seconds. Just
like that alone is a reason to put them on the show.
They're great, and for them to be grandparents, they look so young, like black don't crack, and they look like, I mean, Derek and Shalisa look amazing and great. And for her to be a cancer survivor, I think that she really did represent so well on this show. And I'm happy that we got to see people like them because they were truly amazing.
Yep, for sure.
I do think casting did a great job this season. I don't think it's anybody in the cast's fault that the route is kind of crappy and the tasks are kind of super duper easy. But I do think, come on, grab some balloons and walk them to, and if
that
you
balloon task was not easy, Brooke. Okay, we're not going. That balloon task was not easy. Okay, you saw Bailey and Anthony struggle a little bit. That was not.
They struggled on everything.
Yeah,
that's not because of the balloons.
On walking downstairs,
Anthony and Bailey struggled finding their willies, and then they struggled finding the Jeep.
One of them tried to climb the thing and swing around like the Ballador. Like, are you kidding? Come on. This is your evidence.
I do believe the meat challenge would have been Anthony and Bailey's challenge had they made it.
Why? Because they look like Alec Christie from San Juan del Sur.
Brice always does this. I do believe this challenge would have been Anthony and Bailey's.
I really
based
do.
On what, sir? I love you. I respect you. There is no reason to think that any challenge. And honestly, I'm not ripping on Anthony and Bailey. I thought they were so fun to watch. That being said, there wasn't anything about them that led me to believe that, this challenge would have been.
It was the meat challenge for me. I just feel like they would have been able to be like, bro, remember, I just feel like they would have been able to put it together. So,
they're bringing the orange cat energy. So,
yeah,
I like that.
All right. So, final parting thoughts. Is there anything else that we haven't gotten to that we need to get to?
I think Brice has something to say about Angie. No, I'm just kidding. No more.
Yeah, have we covered Angie enough, or do we need to talk more?
I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I thought about that I found really, really fun and lovely. I think that we are not giving Juan and Shane enough credit.
True.
I think that they are a force to be reckoned with. For some reason, maybe I just feel like Juan's not using his Spanish as much as Cesar is. I don't know why I feel that way, but maybe we're just not seeing it. I don't feel like he's fluent in Spanish, but I don't feel like it's such an advantage to them. I don't think they're using it as much. I'm not sure why. There's really no reason, but I do think that they are a top tier team that wasn't playing up to their potential. And now I think they're hitting their stride, and I am really excited to watch them for what I believe. I have no reason to believe this. I don't know what happens. Would be the last half of the race, because I'd be surprised if they didn't make it. I know The Amazing Race has a history, which I told Brice about, of strong male teams getting to fourth place and then sort of just falling short of a finale. I don't think that's going to happen here. I would be really surprised if they weren't in the end. And I think that they're going to give whoever else, if they are, who is in the finale, a real run for their money. And I think that we should give them their credit, because they are not. I mean, a little bit with Rod, but for just like a task here or there, they have been on their own most of the time and really doing quite a good job with everything they're doing.
I say this every week on the Purple Pants podcast, pit stop coverage of Amazing Race season 36, that Juan and Shane, like, they are the underdogs, and I'm waiting for them to get in the cockpit and go full throttle. And I think this might be the episode where they are, because
take those ridiculous glasses off.
No, they're on the highway to the danger zone. Is that what you're saying?
There we go.
Nice.
I'm just saying. So yeah, but
thank you guys so much. Yeah. I will give a shout out to those. Juan and Shay didn't do this, but I guess I'll give it to Thunder Thighs and the gang for people who did the bicycle detour, aka what did Letitia call that one? Basically, where like that did not seem very easy to do. I don't know why they're using pedals to eviscerate bottles. Surely there must be a better way. And I did feel bad for Vinny and Amber that they had to like actually physically move her foot through the pedals because it was so tough to do. And to start the mega leg doing that must have been super difficult, and probably, especially considering like they've had other legs where they climb like how many flights of stairs to start things off. All of them were probably running on Jello by the time they were done with that.
Well, especially Vinny and Amber would have had trouble with this bike task because they are coming from 2004, where Peloton had not invented.
They still have their Live Strong bracelets on. They're like, we're like Lance Armstrong. Nothing's wrong with him, right?
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all. All right, so everybody has given their shout outs. Very exciting. Thank you, Brice and Brooke, for joining us.
Seriously.
Thank you for
very
having us.
fun.
This is I'm sorry it was such a mishmash of ridiculousness.
No, that's how it always is.
That's what you get when you get us.
Look, I podcast with Mike Bloom. You cannot do anything that is too ridiculous for me.
I love it.
That's true. When I don't have the ridiculousness of costumes, I have the ridiculousness of a public setting, and all these people have to sign releases, right? That's how they do it on The Amazing Race, so their faces can appear on the podcast.
That's why you just yell as you go, so that nobody has to sign a release, and ask people to point you in the right direction. That is.
I'll make Scott St. Pierre individually blur out their faces.
That's perfect.
Just have them put my photo in the background.
Mike, if you were going to have worn a costume for today's podcast, would it have been a little kerchief and beret kind of thing, or what would you have had on to?
See, that's a good question. Well, because I'd probably be a butcher apron. Yeah, if I'm being completely honest, I try to go like
only a butcher apron. Like
yes, I would try to go full Sweeney Todd and like cover myself in redness. Maybe if I had raw chunks of meat, I would probably start juggling them around because I already did the helmet last week. I couldn't do a bicycle thing, and I got to go full Sweeney Todd if I can.
It's dark, man. I like it.
Without
the murder. Sweeney Todd without the murder is what you're saying.
Sweeney Todd without the murder is basically the challenge we just watched.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, basically it was a little priest was the challenge.
Less of a good musical without the murder, I guess.
That's true. And the murder is kind of what makes it an important story to tell.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Right.
So where can everybody be found on the socials?
Brooke,
I mean, people... I'm not in a Facebook cult group. I want to be really clear about what Brice said. He just likes when I look at the Facebook and see what people are saying so that I can inform him as to what people are saying. I'm not in a cult. Like, let's be clear. I am also in your Facebook group. It's wonderful. I love it. Everybody should come join it because it's great. But my name on Facebook, which is written right there. And then I'm at The Real B Camhi on Instagram and I guess Twitter. I don't really tweet, but come find me and chat with me and tell me why everything I said was just dumb. I'm into it. Or great.
Yeah, we want to show Brooke some love. And it's Brooke Camhi for the Facebook people. Come find Miss Brooke. And of course, it's Brice Izyah, Instagram, Twitter. And the Purple Pants podcast where we are covering Amazing Race, Brooke and I, every week. And if you thought this was chaotic.
16 pages of notes. We will be organized, I swear.
It's pretty sad that like Mike and I are bringing the order to this podcast.
I know that is a low bar.
Low bar.
But we are so thankful. Thank you guys for having us. This was so much fun, and it's truly an honor.
Super
again,
duper fun.
The alliance that works, okay? The alliance that works.
Indeed. When we are all on The Amazing Race again, we will definitely form an alliance with you. And of course, you can find Mike Bloom on all the socials at Mike Bloom Type. You can find me at Haymaker Hattie. Please join our Facebook group, which is not at all cultish yet. It's getting there.
Yet.
We're working on it.
You can find
hashtag goals.
That's our laminated sheet that we have in the guest room.
Brice, I'm going to bring the laminated list to our podcast this week.
I need to see it.
I'll show it to you. It's funny. I got problems.
It's amazing. So to join our group, you can go to robbinswebsite.com/tar group, and that will take you right to the Facebook page where you can apply to join our group. And I guess that's about it. Thanks to everybody behind the scenes. And of course, thanks to you, the listeners, and we'll see you next week.